every 3 days, a woman in the UK is murdered by a man. 1 in 3 women in the UK has been subject to domestic abuse. 97% of women in the UK have been subject to sexual assault. Though if you're like me, you'll be surprised that this number isn't far higher. I was in school uniform the first time it happened to me, but there will be people here among us who are far younger. Now I'm 21 and I can't walk home without fearing for my life and fearing for my safety. Now I'm 21 and I don't have a single female or non-binary friend who hasn't been subject to some sort of assault by a man. This is the harsh reality for women everywhere. And the murder of Sarah Everard will resonate with women all over the world because we are all Sarah Everard. And we're here today to mourn, but also because we're very, very angry. Angry that the very institution that claims to protect us, the police, leaves us dead in the fucking street. And I'm not just talking about women, though my heart breaks for every girl who didn't make it home, and my heart breaks for every girl whose story was belittled or ignored or not taken seriously by the police or those in positions of authority. I'm also talking about all the people of colour and black people whose lives have been ended by the police and whose killers have not been brought to justice because of police racism. I'm talking about all the queer and LGBT folk who are subject to even more police harassment than the rest of us. I'm talking about all the trans women in heaven whose killers have never been brought to justice and probably will never be brought to justice. We are here today in St. Peter's Square because we're literally dying for change. The sexism that we face every single day comes from the very top, and it pervades every single institution, but especially the police. And we've seen that in Clapham Common yesterday when the police violently crushed women who came together to stand up against the violence that killed Sarah Everard. We can only abolish this sexism, this misogyny and this violence by coming together through collective action and mass mobilisation. We need to stand up to the police, to Greater Manchester Police and everyone who tries to oppress us, tries to oppress every member of the working class who stands up and says no. We've already won so many battles as students on campus, but also as people collectively. We need to continue this fight, take it to the streets, and maybe one day we'll live in a world where women can walk home without being murdered. Solidarity.
About the racism that we have to endure day in, day out throughout our lives because of not individuals on the streets, although they are just as much a threat. Let's be very clear about that. The thug that tried to pull off my scarf on a Friday night when I was out in the fish and chip shop with my mates, yeah, he was to blame for the fact that he tried to rip off my scarf, right, and spit in my face, but also because we recognise that the reason that guy pulled me off, pulled me out of the chip shop and actually targeted me was because of the stuff that he hears in the media, in the press, and I would love to say gutter press, but it wasn't the gutter press, it's mainstream press, and what he hears from politicians and people that should know better, who target, Muslims, and I have to say it, Muslim women. You see, we have to deal with the shit about the fact that we're Muslim and therefore somehow we're the enemy within, but we also have to deal with the fact that because we're women, somehow, because of the way I choose to dress, I'm either oppressed by the men in my life, or actually, I'm somehow shown that I'm a problem. So I get it from both sides. You see, I can't speak for myself, everybody else has to speak for me. Or actually, I'm the problem. Therefore, I'm a target. Every time I walk down the street, I know I'm a target. I've lost count of the amount of times I've walked through a train carriage on my, when I'm commuting for work or whatever, and someone has said something to me. Or the time when someone spit at me when I Because, you know, during the summer when the Black Lives Matter took to the streets, and people criticise us because actually there's a pandemic. Well, let me tell you, there's a pandemic called racism that was already killing us before COVID. And the pandemic that women are out fighting against today, the pandemic that makes women a target, because actually it's the stuff that they hear on the media, the stuff that they hear from the authorities, the message that goes out that, oh, you know what, just ignore it. It's the same, and we can no longer ignore it. The previous speaker talked about wanting change. Well, that's what we're here to do tonight. We're out to demand change. And you know what, when I saw the pictures of what happened in Clapham Common last night, it was disgusting. It was a peaceful vigil that turned violent, and it turned violent when the police turned up. Let's be very clear here. Every time there is a riot, every time there is a violent attack, a protest, it's because the police have turned up. We're here today, we're not being policed, we're safe, we're wearing our face masks. We can take care of ourselves, just as we did as black people all the way through the summer when we came out and fought against, racism. So when the previous speaker talked about, you know what, one of the problems is the police, and they showed that last night. Well, whether you're a woman or whether you're black or whether you're trans, our enemy is the same. And we have to stand together, and we can't allow them to use the excuse that actually there's a pandemic and we can't come out and have a vote. They're trying to shut us down. And I'm so glad that we came out tonight. We absolutely need to keep coming out. We can't allow them to use a pandemic to shut us down. They want to bring out legislation that makes it even harder for us to protest at a time when actually they're attacking our very human rights. We need to stand together. We need to keep on the streets. And I tell you this, our Stand Up to Racism, we have continued to demonstrate. In fact, we take the knee every Wednesday at 6 p.m. in Hume because of George Floyd. We have taken the knee every Wednesday since he died. We're going to continue to do that. But actually, it's not just about taking the knee. Someone here, who was raped, it's not 1 minute silence. You know what? It's not about silence. It's not about sorry. It's about action. It's about being angry. It's about changing, demanding change, because they're never going to give it to us. We stand here in front of that statue. That was about women fighting for the vote. Nobody gave us a vote. Nobody gave us anything. Everything we got, we fought for. Yeah. So let's deal with sexist and racism every day of our lives. I say this. Let's keep up the fight. Let's carry on the struggle. Next Saturday, 20th of March, is the International Day of Action Against Racism Ambassadors. There are going to be events in 70 countries around the world, and we're asking people to take the knee, 1 p.m. wherever you are. Join Stand Up to Racism for taking the knee. Let's stand in solidarity. Let's connect up the struggles, because your struggle is my struggle, because the enemy is the same. Thank you very much.
I'm speaking partly as myself and from Manchester Peace Assembly against austerity. And thought I'd just put my story out there, because I came from a family where there was domestic violence. There was domestic violence in my family, what I saw against my mum all the time. I saw it against my aunts, I saw it in lots of my family. So there was a lot of violence that I saw. Luckily for me, it's made me not hate men or whatever, but I think it's a system that we need to change. It's a system that brutalises so many people, and we need to have a more fair system where there's not a system that privileges one person over another. And so we need that systemic change. So I say that as a socialist. What's happened recently, I think it's really highlighted that women are still suffering violence, they are being murdered, and we do need that change. And it's such a privilege to see all these people here tonight, and to come out that it really matters to everybody. So thank you for everybody that's here, and I think that's, wonderful to see everybody. And we need more people to come up and speak, if you want to come up and just say, that you've suffered, under a system that really is not fair to women, and isn't fair to men either. Because in my job, I work a lot with men as well, and men under that system where they're not allowed to have feelings, where they're only defined by work, is not fair on men too, So anyway, I just want to say thank you to everyone that's come here tonight, and just keep resisting the pressures against everybody. Thank you.
Estimated 5,000 people gathered at Clapham to pay their respects to the brutal murder of Sarah Everard. This went on across the country, and again tonight, this is what we're seeing here in Manchester and again across the country. We are defying
a police ban that is telling women and people who care about women to stay silent. And we're not going to be silent. We are not going to be silent. We are not going to be oppressed. We're not going to stay at home. What we're going to do is this. We are going to come out and we are going to defy the bans. We are going to come out together in unity. We are going to come out as men, as women, as black, as white, as trans, as gay. We are going to come out and we are going to fight this brutal system, because this brutal system exploits all of us. As a woman, I'm exploited. As other people, yeah, I'm exploited. My body is objectified. I'm abused in work in the sense that low pay. Women are abused more and exploited when they are forced into poverty because of benefits, because of low pay. They're forced into how many children they can have with a government. This penalising people who have more than 2 children. They're penalising people when they throw people out into the streets and they throw children into poverty. These are the things that are exploiting women, but also their partners, their families, their children. We know about exploitation and we know how to support one another, as Naina said. Under the pandemic, we've shown that even more. And that's why we're all here tonight, because we recognise when we're being given a lie. The Tories are lying to us. When they tell us that it's the refugee or when it's the asylum-seeking child who have to travel and put their lives in danger to come across the Mediterranean for somewhere safe. When actually these governments and other governments are producing the arms that are causing the wars and the murder for money. We know that COVID, when the government is forcing, encouraging companies to fire and rehire people, we know it's a lie. It's a money-making game, and we are forced to live under it. But we're not going to, as people have said before, historically we've had to fight for everything. When I go up to the bus depot at Queen's Road, those bus drivers are on strike for health and safety, for themselves, but also for everybody who uses transport in Manchester. Because what's happening is they're being exploited, forced to take on really bad conditions that are going to affect them, their health, their families, and us, the commuter. We need to stand by them, because when they stand together against companies that exploit us, they're doing what unions call defending the rights of all workers and all people. An injury to one is an injury to all. We know that. We're here tonight because we know when the night poor Sarah Everard murdered and all the other women and children that are murdered. Naina mentioned it earlier. Where does it come from? It doesn't come from nowhere. When I think about Boris Johnson and his appalling racist remarks about women, the niqab, and being letterboxes, racist, awfully racist stuff, that trickles down, that's put out there in the media, that's used to scapegoat and oppress people. That's why, we need to address the narrative that this media is putting out there. Whatever I want to wear, whatever I want to say is my business. I'm not offended. If I want to offend anybody, I am offending the Tories and I'm offending the capitalists. I stand in solidarity with all women who have been abused, exploited and murdered. I stand with XR, the climate fighters who want a better world. We all want a better world. That is what unites us. That's why we're here tonight. We want to say, no justice, no peace. We will be out. The Crime, Police and Disorder and Courts Bill is having its second reading this week. That is about trying again to oppress the working class, to oppress all of us. We're not going to stand for it. Every time people of this city call for action and resistance, we should be out together uniting and resisting, because that is the only way we're going to get change. That is the only way we'll do it. So united, solidarity, and let's keep up the fight.
All cops are bastards!
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 Justice!
No peace!
Justice!
No peace! Fuck the police!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
First time that I ever had any sexual contact with a man, I was 16 years old and I was sexually assaulted on the street by a stranger. At that time, I was very naive, I was a child. And that is the day at which I felt that I became a woman. How horrible is that? The moment at which the most unpleasant thing that's ever happened to you in your life happens is the moment you feel that you understand the cruelty of the world and that things have to fucking change. At that time, I wasn't especially political, but boy did I become so after that. Psychology had made him feel like he had the right to do that to me. And from that moment, I kept looking and I realised that it wasn't just him, that the stats are fucking ridiculous, that at least 1 in 3 women will be sexually assaulted in their lives. That for many women, it leads to something much worse, like with Sarah. As it happens, the police did catch that man. On the day he was sentenced, he got 13 months in prison. I'm not pro-prisons, but you know, he got 13 months. On exactly the same day, someone got 13 years in prison for money laundering. Exactly. The police are not here to protect us. That's not what they were built for. Just over there, 200 years ago, there was a massacre of Manchester protesters, Peterloo Massacre. It was that massacre that led to the creation of the police, because the crowds needed to be controlled, because they only had the army, so they created like a domestic army to control us. It wasn't there to protect. When people say the police are here to protect us, it's not true. That's not why they were founded. If the police manage to protect us, it's by accident, not by design. You make that notice? In the last 5 years, the rates of conviction for rape have been falling at a dramatic rate because of cuts and because the police aren't here to do this. The number of cases referred to CPS by the police has shrunk by 40%. I've got some stats up. The figures are lower than they've been. It's a historic low. They aren't prosecuting for this. And when you actually get to that stage, if by whatever chance you manage to get to that stage, the chances of your rapist actually being convicted are minute. They're less than 10% overall from all the rapes that are reported. That is a ridiculous statistic, and it tells us we can't turn to anyone but each other to make this change. We can't call for more police to try and protect us, because as we know from Sarah's situation, they aren't necessarily going to do it. The biggest thing that we need to do is make systemic change from below, change the attitudes of people in your life, change the acceptability of what happens. Do whatever you can, look for whatever route you can to make this change. But please do not rely on the very police officers who are often the perpetrators of violence against women, against trans people, against black people, against everybody who dares to stand in their way or challenge the norm. Yesterday was what the police are for. They're not here to protect us. We have to fight for our right to protest. Kill that bill going through Parliament tomorrow before it's too late.
I'm here because I'm angry. I'm disgusted. Angry at the disgraceful scenes we saw in Clapham Common. I'm angry about violence against women. I'm angry about unequal pay. I am angry about the oppression of women. I am angry that women have suffered the most with austerity. I am angry that this system demands that women take all of the burden of caring and childcare and all of these things. We love our children, but actually we're not here to be free labour. And what we saw in Clapham Common told me something. I heard a woman, an Egyptian woman, talking about her role, her brilliant role in Egypt in Tahrir Square 10 years ago. And she talked about the way in which the state in Egypt used sexual violence against the women fighting back in Tahrir Square. And actually, we'd experienced violence from individual men degraded by this sexist violent system, but we also experience violence from the state, and that's what we saw on Clapham Common. I had to listen on the radio the other day, somebody telling me I shouldn't be hysterical. I think what they meant was you shouldn't be angry because they're scared of angry women. I'm here because I want to fight for the right to protest. I'm here because I stand with everyone who wants to fight to protest against this stinking system. I stand with Black Lives Matter. I stand with black women. I stand with transgender women. You are my sisters too. We will take the knee and do everything we can on March the 20th, which is the UN Anti-Racism Day across the world. We are going to do that. We are going to protest. But I want to say as well, I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate us. I want to celebrate women being the forefront of struggle against an unjust system. We fought for the right to vote. We are at the forefront of fighting against climate change. We are at the forefront of fighting against austerity, fighting for equal pay, and fighting here today. We are not just victims, we have power. So let's...
There is a disease running through this country. It's not corona, it's transphobia. It is ruining this country. I don't know if you saw Jess Phillips speaking in Parliament today, a somber list of all the women killed. But even that list ignored our trans sisters. They are being brutalised and they are being forgotten. Just last month, young trans people lost their rights to puberty blockers. NHS gender clinics have 4-year waiting times. We are asking for them to either leave or die. Trans women in this country are killed if they pass, and they're killed if they don't. We need to fix it. Everyone here knows that transphobia has taken over feminist parts of the UK. J.K. Rowling, so many others, and we need to do something before we lose more lives, because it really is a disease and I don't know where it's going to end.
I'm just really pissed off that every time I go home I have to text my mates, text me when you're home. I'm pissed off that every time there's a man walking towards me at night, I literally think I might die. I'm also pissed off at the fact that every time there's a white van near me, my initial instinct is shit. Put some keys in my hand, hope for the best that he's not going to go for you. I'm pissed off that when you talk to your male friends, they tell you that it's your fault and just don't wear short skirts or don't be so flirty. I'm pissed off that when you're in the pub and some man just starts groping you for no fucking reason. It pisses me off. Can I have a show of hands for anyone who has not received justice for their assault or abuse? Were we asking for it? No! Were we dressed inappropriately and asking for it? No! I was in my fucking bed wearing my onesie at the age of 9 when someone groped me. A guest in my house groped me, and to this day, no justice. It's insulting, it's appalling, it's horrific, and I'm so sorry to anyone else who has ever experienced anything like this, because it's just horrible, and you blame yourself when it's not your fault, it's theirs, and it's the police's fault.
I remember from being about 3 years old going on women's marches, but I am here at 18 still having to do the same thing. That's what, 15 years and there's no change and we're still here. Right, I don't think I know a single girl who has not been groomed, catcalled, raped, assaulted. Why? And then you say it to men and they're like, well, it's not all of us, it's just some of us. But I bet if it's not you, it's your friends, and I bet you're fine with your friends doing it, right? I know that if I go anywhere, right, that I have to walk with my keys between my fingers. I don't feel safe. If I want to go to the shop at night, I won't go alone because I don't feel safe in my own town. I don't think that's okay. I have come to uni and I have seen some disgusting things, and everything just keeps getting worse and worse. And literally, I have been through stuff everyone here has been through stuff, I'm assuming, right? I just personally feel sick. And I know that it's not all men, right? But it's most men. And the thing is, we're not saying it's all of you, the ones who are here, clearly, it's not you. But it is most of you. So instead of saying not all men, say it's too many women. Because that's what it is. I know. Yeah.
7% of women have been assaulted. It's not good enough, and there is nothing to protect us. The police do not protect us. They have never protected us. They just want to control us and keep us down. It is not good enough that there are abusers in our university accommodations and the security, the universities. Assaulted in our own flats. We are assaulted by people we have been put with and we should trust, and it is not good enough. It is not good enough that women have to feel fear every time they go outside. It is not good enough that you have to get rape alarms, carry your fucking keys between your fingers. Why should we live in fear when men don't? It is not good enough. Yes, it is not all men, but it will be your friends. Lots of people do not call out their friends. If you see something wrong, call them the fuck out.
Yeah!
Stand up for the women in your life. And most of all, fuck the police.
First of all, solidarity to all the women that are going through the trauma of talking about what's happened to us. I don't think men will ever realise the collective burden, the collective grief that we have to feel every time something like this happens. We all have been through something or know somebody that's been through something like this. And every time we have to watch it be hashed out and debated by fucking Piers Morgan or whoever the fuck it is who thinks they have a right to silence us. And they are literally trying to silence us. The police and crime bill that they're trying to pass would prevent organisations and marches like this. It would tell us that we're making too much noise, that we're talking about it too much. It would give them the right to send us home just for talking about the oppression that we face, and we have to stand against that. We cannot allow this to continue to happen to us. Enough is enough. Keir fucking Starmer was going to do nothing on that bill. He was going to get them to abstain. He was going to get them to not turn up. He was going to get them to be fucking cowards. And the only reason they're talking about it now is because of Diane Abbott, because of David Lammy, and people fucking making a noise. So you can't let them silence us. They're not our friends. They don't fucking care about us. They tell us it's our fault we get raped. They're going to cart us away from protests if this bill passes. They don't care about Black Lives Matter. This is a direct punishment in response to that. We already have a fucking policeman in our head telling us how not to get raped every time we walk somewhere. Fuck the police, fuck the system, fuck the Tories.
I just wanted to say a couple of things. I'm a trans woman living talking about. There's a lot of tragedy to the way people talk about trans people and trans women in particular, and about our deaths, and it follows us around, and it's the way that people talk about us. It's almost inevitable, and it's not inevitable. We come to places like this, we come to events like this to find our power with everyone else who's coming to find their power, to stand together against all of the fucking violence that's going on. I'm not going to talk about things that I've been through here, and fair play to everyone who has, because it's fucking brave. It's not on us to fix this, but it's on us to take our power and to take our fucking strength and fucking move with it, because no one's going to do it for us. Fix themselves, they've proven that already. Working class women can't rely on the police, black women can't rely on the police, trans women can't rely on the police, mentally ill and disabled women can't rely on the police. No one fucking can. No one who's actually facing difficulties fucking can.
I come from Romania and I'm a student here. And when I come from a very violent country, and I didn't expect to meet the same treatment in the UK, because I was told it's a nice first world country. And I was proven wrong by not just the government, but by the men around me. And this statement was in 1977 in the Feminist March. And it's still used now by me in 2021. And I'm very fucking disappointed. And I'm so tired. And I just
I'm tired and I feel like everyone is, and I'm angry and everyone should be. And I'm really happy to be here with everyone and to share my story. And I hope we all get justice because we really, really need it and we need change. So reclaim the night and reclaim the
I think the thing that I'm most angry about is that men respect other men more than they respect me. The fact that in a pub, if I get groped by a man, he's more likely to leave me alone if I say that I've got a boyfriend than if I say no. When someone kind offers to walk me home, I'm so grateful, but you shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to have a man by my side to feel safe. I shouldn't have to have a man by my side to not get attacked in my own city, in my own country. Just upsetting. What the fuck are we meant to do?
I heard a lot of very young women talking about incredibly traumatic things that have happened to them, and I really hope that this feels like a space where you're held and a space where you're believed, because you are, and what happened was wrong, and whatever is going on in your mind that you're thinking about right now, any of you, that was also wrong and it also wasn't your fault. But if you're somebody here who isn't a woman and you're listening, I hope you're listening in a really deep way, because we shouldn't need to stand here and relay our trauma in order to be seen as human and deserving of equality. When we talk about not all men, but too many women, it's also too many men, and it's also a spectrum. So just because your mates would never abduct and murder a woman, just because you think your mates would never grope a woman, there are so many microaggressions on this spectrum, and they all follow the same culture. So every time you say to your friend, like you hear someone saying, oh, he's whipped because he's sometimes listens to his girlfriend, or I don't know, just basically calling people a simp, whatever. And you know what I mean? Like, it's all part of it, and every time we let these one tiny thing go, and this is something that I'm trying to learn as a white person who is privy to conversations with other white people where they are racist, basically. Every time I let one of those things go, it's my responsibility when something violent on the other end of the spectrum of race happens. So every time you let one of those things go, men, it's your responsibility, the whole system is. So please, just like, stand the fuck up.
You are all so wrong. I experienced a sexual assault myself when I was in year 7. It happened in my own bedroom, under my own roof, by a family member. And I never got justice for it because we always believed the police would not help. After a woman is sexually assaulted, the last thing she wants to see is a male police officer telling her, are you sure? Did you say something? My rapist gave me £5 to keep my mouth shut from my parents. But my parents raised me right. They raised me clever, and as soon as he left the house, I told them, and I had the support, which many people don't. But I am not weak. I am not a victim. I am a fucking survivor.
I'm Kit. I just want to talk about my experience about what's happened to me. The first time, I was fucking 12 in a school uniform, and the reason was because I was wearing skirts instead of pants. What the fuck? And I didn't win the court case because there wasn't enough evidence. The second time, I just finished a concert. I was at the bus station and 2 men came up and was trying to make me show them their tits and wouldn't leave me alone until I showed them my tits. I had to ring my mum and use like a safe code to get me a fucking Uber to go back. Why should I have to use like backup like that?
You shouldn't.
Exactly, I really shouldn't. It's bullshit, absolute bullshit. The last time it happened was a few months ago from a fucking Uber Eats. A fucking Uber Eats. I was wearing a fucking blanket hoodie, nothing else. And he wanted to use my bathroom because he didn't live around and he was homeless and he wanted a glass of bottle. But then he was asking me before he left if he could give me a massage or anything.
That's vile.
Exactly, it's fucking vile. And I had my excuses yet again that my mum was asleep, my dad was fucking coming home, he couldn't stay. Like, what the
Shouldn't
fuck?
have to use excuses.
Exactly, I shouldn't have to use excuses. So, fuck this.
Last time, not the only time, the last time. The last time I was raped, I didn't get justice because I couldn't stand and talk to a policeman who yelled in my face. I didn't get justice because I couldn't come and have a sensible, calm discussion with a 6'2" man who threatened to break down a bathroom door. I didn't get justice because he was aggressive and he wasn't interested in giving me justice because I'd been to a street rave. I didn't get justice because they don't care.
I just want to talk about the whole asking for it thing, right? Because if everyone who gets raped is asking for it, why did it happen to me when I was asleep? And also, everyone talks about the asking for it of what you're wearing. Fuck what you're wearing, you can literally be bollock out, flaps out, tits out, and it still doesn't give no one the right to touch you, so
I was 14 and I was in my fucking school uniform stood in the fucking lunch queue. That is not what I call fucking asking for my ass to be touched by a boy 3 years older than me. I did not fucking ask for that. I convinced myself for fucking years that it never happened because nobody ever educated us in school about what it means to be a woman. Nobody. I was 14. The boy who I thought liked me, we were in a fucking relationship. Again, I was in my fucking school uniform when he bent over and looked up my skirt. I did not fucking ask for that whilst I was stood in the corridor minding my business. Nobody ever fucking asks for it, do they? No! We don't fucking ask for this! This is the hand that we get dealt in life, and we are sick to fuck of putting up with it. We are taking back our streets and we are taking back our fucking lives.
One of my closest friends actually raped me when I was first friends with him, and I excused it because he was my friend, and it's the whole that you think that your friend wouldn't do that, or like, oh, my friends aren't like that, but it's the point that, yeah, it's not all men, but it can be any fucking man, and that's what we're scared of, is it can be anyone, and I hate hearing that it's not all men, me and my friends aren't like this, I know me and my friends aren't like this, because I didn't think my friend was like that until I realised that he actually didn't do that, but I excused it because he was one of my best mates for a year and a half. That's all I want to tell you.
I was walking home with him from a night out and I thought I could trust him to walk home with me because he was my best friend for years. And that fucked up my trust for any guy on any night out or any guy in the street. And why should my trust be knocked over something, just over something like that? And I was told by another male friend in our friendship group to not fucking speak up, to protect the friendship. Why the fuck should we not speak up? Why?
My guy best friend that I thought was one of my best friends for years broke me, put his hand down my throat, and when I confronted him about it, he called me delusional and said I'd never be pretty enough for him to do that to me. And that just put me off having guy friends for years, and that's, yeah. I'm a gay woman, and I love PDA solely for the fact because I think that queer PDA is really radical. The amount of times men came up because they were either being homophobic or they were fetishizing us. They were thinking we exist for their gays, for them to look at us, to please them. I don't even know, I don't want to think about it because it disgusts me. I know that throughout the world, lesbian porn is the most searched thing that men look at. And I want you to think about that. I want you to keep in mind that when you see queer PDA, it's not for you, it's because it's radical, because we're taking it to the streets, and then kissing your friend or your queer partner or whoever you want to share a kiss with, do it. But also keep in mind, it's okay if you don't, because I know there have been times where I didn't do it because I was fearing for my own life. Because who am I going to call? Definitely not the police. So just think about that and take it with you when you go home.
Everyone has inspired me to also share my story. 9 months ago I was raped, and when I woke up, I thought the trauma was over, the nightmare had ended. But every day I relived it, I was triggered. People reacted to my story, not hearing me, not understanding me, misunderstanding me. I went to the police, which I thought was gonna help in some way, was gonna make it a little bit better, but it did not. I had to have a forensic examination where phallic objects were put in my vagina, and every bruise on my body and scratch was measured with a ruler, reinforcing the fact that my body is not mine and I'm not allowed to own it. I then went had an interview, and the police was a man. And then, while in the interview room, which was so isolating, there were another two men in another room watching me and recording me. The fact that they had such little caution and understanding of the trauma that all of us go through, and not to think to create more support is not enough. And to then try and find help, but nowhere being there. I was not suicidal, so I couldn't get help, but I was too fragile in half of the cases to actually have help, because I was going to the court, which meant that everyone was too scared to take part in it. But yeah, that's my story.
I'm tired of having to worry that if I reject a guy, I'm gonna get raped. I'm tired of having to worry that if I walk down the street at night, I'm gonna get kidnapped. We need to stop telling women what not to do. Don't walk home late. Don't go without a friend. Don't take the bus. Don't get a cab. We need to start reinforcing that men need to be held accountable for things that they do. Hold men accountable for touching women. Hold them accountable for groping women. Stop putting the blame on women.
What I first realised when I was raped was that I wasn't treated like I owned my own body. In so many ways, I had to look a certain way, to be socially accepted. I was constantly a victim of the male gaze, and I very often got slut-shamed. I realised I didn't have an agency to my own body in any way. I wanted to reclaim my body, what it is, sexual when I want it, non-sexual when I want it. I was blamed for the rape because I was intoxicated, really drunk. I was 14. It was my first time. I was at sleepover at my best friend's house. We got drunk with her older brother. I passed out and woke up and he was on top of me. Replacing my body, insisting that this body is not an invitation to rape, touch or comment in any way, dressed or not. The relationship you have with your body changes a lot after you're raped. I've read about women who have so much trouble doing simple things such as showering because their own body reminds them of what has been taken away from them. They can't function and they can't sleep. They can't be touched, and some of them can't even make love. They can't speak about it. Depression, suicide attempts. Their minds are occupied and they have no control. I've been able to reclaim my body somewhat quickly after the rape. I took people have different ways of processing things. You know, I got slut-shamed because I approached it in a different way. You know, I felt like I didn't own my own body and I was an object, so I let people treat me like an object, and I let boys treat me like an object for a long time. And unfortunately, you know, some people don't understand, and I didn't understand that myself, so for a lot of time I thought, yeah, you know what, maybe I am a slut, but you know, I and everyone here is a living example that shit does get better, and it's possible to love your own body again, and everyone should be able to feel safe in their own body, in the place that they fucking live. I live in an accommodation down the road. There has been this fucking weirdo who has assaulted one of my really close friends, that has made other girls feel very uncomfortable. It's been reported to security and they've done jack shit about it. He's still living there. Fuck MSB!
It come up to him in public at parties or whatever and assume that I just want to constantly talk about sex, or it means that I want to be touched, or that I want to be sent their dick on Snapchat and things like that. And that is also a form of sexual harassment. Just because I'm open about my job and using my own body and my sexuality to make money, people assume that that means I want all this attention, I want all this unsolicited messages, and I think that's something that people need to understand more, is that just because someone is open about what they're doing, it doesn't mean they're any more wanting this unsolicited attention and everything like that.
I was 14 years old when my best friend airdropped my nudes to someone else, and it went viral on every group chat in my school. And I had to sit with my principal and all of my teachers, 14, and I had them tell me that if you press charges, you will be on the sex offenders list. They were only suspended for 2 days. I had to go to school with them every single day until I finally left that fucking school. And I had to sit there and look at them and know that they had a great time. And I had to look at them because they also spread other girls' nudes around after that happened. And I know that this isn't really the same, and I have been harassed in person as well. I was on my boyfriend's shoulders when I was groped behind. I don't even know how it happened. But I feel like, especially in the digital age, especially in the world that we're living in right now, pictures last forever. I don't know who has them now. They still exist. I don't even know if they deleted them because the boys didn't even get arrested. I still have them on social media now, and I don't know how to process that, and I can't believe I'm actually fucking talking about this. But that's it.
Under the capitalist mode of production, that oppression has only intensified. The problem is not women, it's never obviously been women. It is class society, it is the system, it is capitalism. And for decades, like, the establishment has tried to fob us off as women, as people fighting for rights, with reforms that really never go far enough. And there is only kind of one solution to the global emancipation of women, of, you know, the working class, of black people, of everything, and that solution is a socialist revolution.
Thank you to everyone who came here. At about 9:30 this morning, I got really angry. We were having left comments, and I was like, fuck it, we need to do something. And I mean, most people have gone because it's cold and stuff. But look at what we did. We created something, and I'm so proud of everyone who has said their story. It's been amazing, and thank you.